I want you to remember the most enlightened person you can think of. And really deeply ask yourself, what is it that makes them so appealing? What secret do they have? Well, of course, it's just that inner serenity, that peace, and people think that when you get to that point that they are in, you'll also have this profound sense of happiness. You want to be happy all the time without the contrast of it. But all they have figured out is how to be deeply asleep while being awake. Now, of course, the dualistic ego mind says, no, that's not possible. That's impossible, because you cannot sit and stand at the same time. But once you know who you are, it's possible. Because let me tell you something, let me try to explain something to you. And I want you to not absorb it with your mind and carry it around as knowledge, as just an experiment. What we call deep sleep, what is that? Isn't that just consciousness without knowing that it's consciousness? In fact, once you know that that's consciousness, you don't know anymore what it is exactly. Because consciousness itself is just a word that is created in the dream, and it will die in the dream. Because, you know what I'm trying to say? The word consciousness itself is a trap. What we were talking about shouldn't have a name, because it doesn't have a name. But what is deep sleep? It's just a state of nothingness. It is even timeless. And you think that you don't exist while you're deeply asleep. But why? It's just because you're aware of nothing at all, because there's no content. There's no content that consciousness could be aware of. That's why it's so peaceful, but it's so peaceful you don't even know that you have this sense of peace right now. Because knowing that you have peace implies that you don't want to lose it. And once you don't want to lose something precious, it gives you a sense of pressure, which means you have automatically lost your peace. So being in real peace requires you to not know that you have peace. Once you know that you're in peace, you're scared to lose it, which takes away your peace. So what happens then is something that we call creation. It's a dream state. It's dream. You have something to be aware of, and deep sleep jumps over to dream. You become aware of things. You can fly, you can become lucid, you can, experience everything you want or not want. You don't want. It's like, but there's after that we wake up and we think that we're awake right now. But what happens is that we are simply continue to dream with a wake body, because we're still thinking. When you wake up in the morning, the thoughts come and they say, I had a good sleep. But the thoughts are lying. They weren't even there. What happened is that the dream state is just continuing to happen in your wake state, seeming wake state. But if you want to be here and have deep peace, just as if you are in a deep sleep, you have to become more awake, they say. Have a spiritual awakening, become enlightened, go through the pathless path, end suffering, have one big satori your whole life. And when you wake up, it's like you even wake up of the dream of thinking. So it's just this. Just forget for a second what I've talked about, everything in your life. Just forget everything right now. Everything who you are is just gone, and there's just this. And you don't know what it is. That is not a wall. Don't think of a wall. I know it's hard because I say don't think of a wall, but just I'm not a human. It's just what is that? If we attach concepts onto what is, it's not anymore the thing. It's not that. It's just dream attaching to reality, then we say I'm a real person. But the one who says I'm a real person has to be a dream character. If you would really be real, you would just you see? So what is that? If we say that deep sleep itself is pure consciousness, not being aware of anything, and then there is a dream state, there's a waking dream state, which we call life, real life, my life. It's just a waking dream state. But there's also a more awakened state that we call consciousness, being aware of consciousness. Now, consciousness being aware of consciousness is just consciousness itself, because there cannot be two. It's just one consciousness. Even if you say consciousness is aware of consciousness, it's just one. Consciousness being consciousness itself, it's just one. Well, where's the difference now? In deep sleep, consciousness being aware of nothing, not even knowing that it's consciousness. This is also just consciousness being aware of nothing. So the difference between deep sleep and being highly awake as consciousness, not knowing that you're conscious because you're so deeply resting as consciousness, not caring what is going on in the dream state. There's no difference. This is deep sleep, this is deep sleep. But let's not call it deep sleep. We could also say this is highly awakeness. This is just awakeness, but this is also awakeness. So the sages were saying that someone who's deeply asleep is more awake than someone who thinks that he's awake. But there's like still a separation. You think now that being highly awake and being deeply asleep is like enlightenment. Forget about enlightenment. And the dream is something separate, but no, it's not the case. And it's hard for me to explain it because I'm trying to break it down in a very simple, fragments so you can kind of grasp it, but don't try to grasp it. Because if you think you can grasp it and then you go on in your day thinking, I got it now, I know it. That's not it. That's not it. There's no way I could explain this to you. I had an experience. It just occurred to me just like that, where I was just standing in the kitchen. I was looking at my hand and I was like, what's that? But it wasn't an intellectual thing. I looked at my hand, and because I didn't know what it is, it automatically happens that I also didn't know what that is, or what that is, or what that is, or what that is, or what anything is. So everything consisted out of a substance called I don't know, which is why I had the sense of everything is one. But this I don't know substance, people call it nothingness, is the thing that we call matter. So there's not a consciousness being aware of matter. Matter and consciousness are one, and now let's just take away the concept that we have given them, and it has no name. So everything we see right now is, who knows? Who could be there to know? It was so clear that everything is just one, but I didn't think of everything as one. It was just clear. It was just the most natural realization that I have ever had. But there was this profound sense of happiness and peace. I felt like deeply asleep. But there was still experience without an experiencer. Because the experiencer is also just experience. Now, don't think that I'm someone who was blasting off into dimensions and losing the humanity. And I can still say I'm a person. I have thoughts. I'm not enlightened. But we were talking about the most enlightened person you can think of. Think about them. The point I want to make is they are not enlightened. No one is enlightened. If you're watching a video on YouTube where someone is really telling you, hey, I am enlightened, I can show you how to also become enlightened. No, they're not enlightened. If you think you can claim enlightenment and hold it in your hand, you will lose it just like sand between your fingers. Just vanish. Enlightenment is just vanishing. It doesn't exist. No one's enlightened. Because it requires someone, so that someone could become enlightened. It doesn't exist. So stop trying. And it was funny, in my last video, there was someone leaving a comment saying, okay, now I've dropped my ego, what now? You know, I understand that question. I understand it because, you know, when you're getting into this state of self-inquiry, okay, let's see, drop the ego, drop everything. Now there's a sensation of boredom. What now? The thought tells you, the sensation tells you that you have already dropped your ego, but without your ego it's pretty boring. But the one saying that it's boring is still a little aspect of your ego that you have missed. You know, that sensation of being bored in meditation shows you that there's a sensation that you're identifying yourself with. If you would realize the nothingness, even boredom would just drop. So just know that if you think that you are still on a search for enlightenment, if you think that there's still hope, you know, there's a hope that one day life will get better somehow or just know that hope dies one day. If not today, it will die one day. And when hope dies, that's when love enters. Because love has to die one day. And not love has to die one day, hope has to die one day, and then love will emerge. Nothing will help you. And I'm so grateful that it's made up this way. Because otherwise, God would be imperfect. Because if God would, you know, if God would have made this game in such a way that you could find enlightenment, that would mean that you could lose it, and that would mean that creation isn't perfect and you have to do something to make it perfect. But all that happens is realizing that creation is perfect, and you realize that it was always perfect. So there's nothing you could add to this existence, or whatever it's called. Whatever you want to call it, doesn't make sense if you name it. There's nothing to add to or to let go. It's just unexplainable. Alright, and I just want to say thank you very much for that engagement on my last few videos. That comments and likes and views, and I was a little bit overwhelmed because I didn't expect that. I was just starting off making some random videos about what I know. So I just want to say thank you. But also I want to encourage you on this video to like it, share it, subscribe, and leave a comment, because I really like to engage with you guys. And have a great day.